Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 1000, we are going to talk about Lv5 Supreme. Just a little preface here. This has been, 8 years in the making to get to deck number 1000. You'll have to forgive me. This is a milestone deck for us right here. 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I noticed that I was fastly encroaching upon deck number 1000. And at the current rate I was doing videos at the time, it was inevitable I would get there quickly. I have not been doing, daily videos as such because I've been trying to get this deck built. I have, lots more to go after this, but let's read. I'm sure there's a lot of you tuning in for the first time. I invite you, check out the other videos. There's thousands of videos on this channel. 999 other decks, to be exact. But what we normally do is I normally go through, I show you my deck, explain why I picked the cards. I don't script, I don't edit. Everything is just fresh off my brain. Be that as it were. So we will read Lv5. We get a Wooburg for a Dragon Avatar 5/5. Flying, hexproof, or multicolor. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard that's exactly 2 colors has Jumpstart. Of course, Jumpstart, you can play it from the graveyard. In addition to its cost, you discard a card. Now, that ability will come into play much later on in the video. 2 years ago when I started the campaign for this deck, I had a different commander, and it was the 4-color one that didn't have black in it because that was the only one I hadn't done yet. At the time, I had done all of the 5-color commanders that existed. I have since had to pivot to a 5-color commander for deck number 1000. A lot of things have happened in these 2 years. We lost our visionary, Sheldon Menery. And I want to cover him first because without him, we would not have this format, right? Or it wouldn't exist the way that it is. So, Ruhan of the Fomori. Now, I couldn't make this the commander because y'all know I've already built this commander, and I don't do duplicates because the object is to build a deck for every legendary creature. So, Ruhan of the Fomori. This year, they made a secret lair for Sheldon. It was actually in the works before Sheldon passed. He had a lot of input on it. And it really, I got to meet him, I got to play with him. I didn't know him as well as I would like to. He was a very, very warm soul. But anyway, here are the cards from that secret lair. Iladamri's Vineyard. He was a wine connoisseur as well. Good company is sweeter than any summer wine. And he was a keen duelist. I got a chance to play with him and some of the members of the Rules Committee a few years back, and it was a delight. Greater Good. I love that they only printed this in Italian, Bene Supremo. La Vita e Bella. I just... Greater Good, you sacrifice a creature, draw cards equal to its power, and discard 3 cards. This is a green enchantment. And then probably his favorite card, Ink Shield. Because, a fog where you get a bunch of 2/1s, yeah, okay, with flying, no less. Love Ink Shield, it's a great card. He'd never cast Ink Shield against me, but I saw it in game. So what I did, the premise for the deck was I wanted to reach out to other content creators and get them to pick a card for the deck. So I reached out to Sheldon. I explained to him what I was doing, and he gave me 3 cards to pick from. He actually jokingly said that I could use, he would give special dispensation for this to be the only deck where Primeval Titan was legal in, because he knew Primetime was my favorite Magic card of all time. And the only reason why I have a modern deck. No, it's not that Primetime deck. It's just a green deck with Primetime in it. Anyway. So, in the 2 years or the year and a half that's passed since he gave me those 3 suggestions, I decided to use all 3 of them. Zendikar Resurgent, it's just a great card. Wandering Archaic, and Coiling Oracle. Those were the 3 that he gave me for the deck. Now, as I said, I reached out to other content creators. I want to talk about Mr. Evan Irwin from Magic Mike's. So I'm assuming a lot of you know who Evan is. He is, but what he has done is the important thing. He was the pioneer of Magic content on this platform. He was the very first person to take a camera to a Grand Prix and just start filming. But there was no Magic content before Evan. He had a wonderful show called The Magic Show. If you follow Magic Mike's, you know that that's still the little icon. It's still the name of the channel that Magic Mike's is on. And his all-time favorite card was Jace the Mind Sculptor. I haven't had a chance to meet Evan, weirdly enough, because we're both from Tennessee. He's no longer in Tennessee, though. I think he's down in Florida now. But thank you, Evan, for all that you have done for all of us, because pretty much the zeitgeist now of there's everything that is surrounding the game that's not the actual playing of the game. He was a pioneer in Magic content creation. And since we are on Magic Mike's, we will do the other 2 members, which is Daquan Watson. Y'all know him as Power Dragon. He chose Rith the Awakener, which is a monster of a card, making those saprolings. And Ruben Bressler. I've always been a big Ruben Bressler fan. Birds of Paradise. Really, really, I loved getting the cards chosen, but a card like Bird of Paradise that actually helps the deck and fixes the 5-color problem. Always good, always good. We will go to the Rules Committee now. Gavin Duggan, Simic Growth Chamber. He originally had sent me Karoo, not Karoo, the green Karoo land from, but it was so specific to an untapped forest. He's like, you may not have that, so Simic Growth Chamber is his pick. And then Jim LePage, the Master Transmuter, which actually came into play a little later on. It here again, cards that work together I was not expecting it at all. We jump down to the Commander Advisory Group, which was Charlotte with Wildfire Devils. Wildfire Devils enters the battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, choose a player at random. That player exiles an instant or sorcery card from their graveyard, copy it, and cast it. It's just, that's the fun kind of, you don't know what's going to happen thing that I love. And since Niv Mizzet does do the 2-color instant sorcery thing, it kind of fits, And then we have Mr. Shivenbot of the Commander Advisory Group. Now, I'm filming this today, October 17th, so I know a lot has changed recently. When I say Rules Committee Advisory Group, this is what they were forever, and I realize things have changed since then. Preface out of the way. But Shivim is such a positive force for the community. I had the pleasure of being on Shivim's show, y'all remember, for deck number 400. And it was his previous show, the Commandering, with him and Phil DeLuca. Phil, great as well. But Shivim still has, he has Casual Magic, and he gets really in depth. I love his show. I love his passion for the game. And now, this one here is a little bit different. Brainstorm Brewery is a finance podcast, and I know that's, I don't know why. I don't listen to a whole lot of finance podcasts, but there's something about Brainstorm Brewery. It's light, it's funny. I love the people on there. So Jason Alt chose Helm of Possession. Corbin Hostler, Prime Speaker Zagana, which I was so glad he chose this because somebody else chose something that needed a merfolk. Y'all can probably figure out who that was and what the card does. And then DJ chose a Soul Ring. Thank you, DJ, because I was worried somebody would not pick a Soul Ring, and here I would be Soul Ringless, you know. The Commander Cookout Podcast. I'm just moving stuff along. The Commander Cookout Podcast, very fun, all about Commander. They are Canadian, I believe. I am, even though my name is Kenneth, I am not Canadian. I'm from Tennessee. A lot of people say that I'm an honorary Canadian. I got enough Canadian flag stuff, I'll tell you that. But love their show. It's a great show. Been mentioned on there several times. But CCO Brando chose Brash Taunter, and Ryan chose Urza Saga. Now, let's get to the, I only have two of the three. Wow. So, EDH Rec, you all know the website. We use it. You got to be careful, though, because you can't just download a list or copy a list from the recommendations, because it's a conglomerate of all the lists that have been, you know, all that anyway. But EDH Rec has a podcast they started, a couple years ago, and it's a great show. They crunch some of the numbers and try to give explanations on why, because they have access to the data side of EDH Rec and how many decks there are and who's building what at what clip. So it's a really good podcast. I can't recommend it enough. Joey Schultz is on there. He chose Titania, Protector of Argoth, and Dana Roach chose Sylvan Library, which is wonderful because now the deck has card draw. It's so, I know this is a random lot of cards, but I still wanted a playable deck in the end. Now we're going to get to the one-ofs. Y'all know I got a chance to meet Miss Rachel Weeks from the Command Zone cast at Gen Con this year. I met her and Josh and Jimmy. She chose Illusionist Gambit. Here is Lord of Atlantis, you guessed it, Brian the Professor at Tulane Community College. He picked Lord of Atlantis before Zagana was chosen, so at least there's another merfolk, right? Magic with Zuby. Zuby chose the Snapcaster Mage. I'm sure we'll be getting a fancy version of Snapcaster upcoming soon in Estrada Remastered. Have to, right? For a while, I listed my decks on Architect. I don't have many. I probably only have 500 or 600 decks listed on Architect. Some of the early ones. I know that's a lot, but I kind of stopped doing deck list for my decks because, well, to be honest with you, they were printing so many legends. In the time it took me to list a deck, I could have almost built another one. So, but the Architect team is great. Jeremy there. They are Magic players that created that website, and Architect is one of the finest deck listing sites I've ever seen. It's routed right through. They've partnered with EDH Rec. I love it. And Mirari's Wake, here again, another. It doesn't really fix your mana, but it does give you some ramp. Jaya Ballard, chosen by Ryan Green over at Commander Social. Jay is just a good card. Zebex. I apologize, Zebex, if I mutilate this name. Zenaid Beckham. I got to meet her. She actually came down to the shop for a big event that we were having. Spent the day essentially with Zebex, and she is as much of a joy with a passion for the game as you've seen her on her videos, how positive and uplifting that she is. Yes, she's just that way all the time. We have Sunbird's Invocation, chosen by Ellie of the Vale. Ellie does great work. Treacherous Terrain, chosen by Benny at the Blair Witch Green. He has written the most articles, the most words. It's so many million words. 2 million, 3 million, a bunch of words on the Commander format. So he's been writing articles for a while. He is the Commander journalist. He is. Dark Depths, chosen by One More Mana, because y'all know I love Dark Depths. And then a good friend of everyone's, Mr. Gavin Verhey. He works for this little company you might have heard of called Wizards of the Coast. I got to meet him as well at Gen Con. He is, here again, as positive and as upbeat as you think he is on. He portrays that on all the videos. He's really that way. He is such a great person to be around. I love it. Now we're going to get into personal folks here. We have Vincer, Shaper Savant, chosen by Daniel. Daniel's been following quite a while. A good friend of mine that I actually met through this very channel, Mr. Chris Thompson. He a patron on there, but friend, compadre. He is. You meet in the tavern, which I think he chose this because we actually met for the first time in a local game store. Face to face met. We met in a game store. And so this was probably as close as it comes. I love Chris. Chris is actually, he is MTG Ghoul Dude over here on YouTube. He analyzes magic through the eyes of zombies. Everything zombie or undead related, that's what his channel focuses on. MTG Ghoul Dude. Ghoul Dude. So y'all be sure to look him up to give him a follow. We have a good friend of mine named Mr. Danny Mason. I've known Danny for 25 years probably. It's been longer than 25 years because we were at a restaurant and we told the waitress it was our 25-year anniversary. So Painter's Servant, great card. Another great friend of mine is Jimmy Goodman. He is, and a funny story about Smothering Tithe. I think I know why he picked Smothering Tithe. We were at a Grand Prix. That was back when they were just Grand Prix and not called Magic Fest, back in the before times. And we were looking through those bulk boxes that the shops have out. That's these 4 or 5 row boxes, and there's 20 of them, and it's like, hey, 50 cents a card. And we were looking through it, and we come across Smothering Ties. And he grabbed 4, and I grabbed 4, and we were like, I don't. We both knew it was good, but we didn't think it would become as ubiquitous as it is and as expensive as it is. So That's the Jimmy Goodman smothering tie story. We have card chosen by Brian Canada over at Cure for the Common Game. I'm sure you met him. I got through here and I was explaining to my wife how people were picking cards, and she said, "So what card did you pick?" And I was like, "What?" She goes, "You got to have a card in there." So I said, "Well, there can only be one card for me, and that is Jump. Not just a jump, it has to be the Alpha Jump." I probably should have used one of the autographed ones. Now, I have, speaking of my wife, she chose Magister Sphinx, which is really going to be great with that, the Master Transmuter thing, popping up and back and setting people's life at 10. It's going to be great. But I have 5 wonderful children. And they picked cards as well. Now, we will go in age order so as not to upset them in any way. My oldest daughter is Destiny, and she chose Chromatic Lantern. Thank you, Destiny, because it fixes the colors of a 5-color deck. It's amazing. Then we go down to Emilia. She chose Faberl Elder, which is also very useful in a 5-color. Next, we have Mr. Tyler Jones. Love Tyler. He is probably one of the smartest humans I've ever met. Yeah. He chose Chromatic Ore. There again, fixing mana. And yes, it is 7, but it also works with the Master Transmuter, so we can maybe pop that Soul Ring back in our hand and throw down the Chromatic Ore. Hopefully, that's Magical Christmas Land. By the way, Evan Irwin invented Magical Christmas Land. Then we have Dakota. He is the second to youngest. Bloom Tender, there again, really close to the Faberl, but got them both. And then my youngest, Dylan, he said, "So, Dad, has anybody picked Command Tower?" And I was like, no. He said, "Well, that's my pick then." Let me look through to make sure. Okay. That is where the picks end, and so I had that to work with to build a functioning deck. So the first thing I thought of was, well, 5-color, we're going to need some way to fix this, right? Some way to fix the mana. So I chose the Decanter of Endless Water, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Commander's Fear, Farseek, Rapid Growth, Arcane Signet. So those are all just to fix the mana of this 5-color deck, right? Then our commander has a 2-color, wants you to play 2-color instants and sorceries. So I thought, okay, let's see what good 2-color instant sorceries I have just hanging around. Well, Time Wipe was the first one that I came to, and I was like, well, there are times when you cast the board wipe and you realize a few turns later that you're like, oh, I did that too soon. There's bigger problems now. Now we got that. Diabolic Vision, I've always loved this one. I know Limdol's Vault is arguably better, but Diabolic Vision was first. But having access to doing this a second time, just beautiful. Terminate, good old spot removal. Same thing with Despark, Mortify, Putrefy, and Anguished Unmaking. Now, Decimate is spot removal to the nth degree, right? It's 1 for 4. Typically, there are there's 2 competing theories on how to cast Decimate. You generally take off the 4 problems of the board, and that tends to be like 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, whatever. But if somebody has really jumped out ahead, I have seen people go all 4 targets from 1 player. Ooh, takes care of that one. Growth Spiral. Draw a card, put a land in. Essentially, for me, this is an awful lot like, it reads an awful lot like Time Walk. Because for 2 mana, you get to draw a card and make a land drop. Sure, you don't get the untap, upkeep, combat, all of that. But for those of you who've played with Time Walk, you know what I'm talking about. And it's really, really close. And then Reborn Hope. Reborn Hope doesn't get a whole lot of play, but since the deck works on multicolor, I wanted to, have something to get it back and use it again. Now I got 5 cards left. I forgot the X map. Expedition map should have gone in the mana fixing thing. I figured there's a couple of don't hit me's, like the propaganda. Didn't put the white one, whose name escapes me at this moment. I've got it in a million decks. Oh, shoot. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, everybody's screaming at it. I'm going to have 50 comments with, dang it, it's still gone. Anyway, propaganda, very useful for keeping I call them the weenie hordes, all of the tokens, from you getting attacked with, 10,000 squirrels or what have you. And then Teferi's Protection, just a great, great card. And this actually is part of the Sheldon Menery Secret Lair. I wanted to give this its own special moments, just simply because I love that quote. It's not just flavor text. I've heard him say it. If you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what it is you're doing. We as humans are societal people, and if you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. Miss you, Sheldon. Ooh, 2 more cards. Guided Passage. I picked Guided Passage for the deck because, let's be frank, it's funny. It is a 1 for 3. Now, you just hand your deck over to someone and tell them to pick you 3 cards. One that's a land, one that's a creature, and one that ain't either one. So, yeah, see what they give you. There are times when you can, you've earned favors in the game, maybe, that they will help you out or whatnot. And then for the last card before we get to the lands, I just wanted something funny. Yeah, Progenitus. You don't get to run Progenitus that much, right? I mean, you are specifically in 5 colors. You are really deep in 5 colors. So I wanted Progenitus. So let's look at our non-basic lands. Now for the basic lands, I normally don't cover the basic lands, but I used Snowlands for no apparent reason. None whatsoever. I like them. So, let's look at our non-basic, shall we? We have Mana Confluence, Fabled Passage, City of Brass, Forbidden Orchard, Fanghorn Forest, also known as Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Gotta push that air out of there. There's a Prismatic Vista. And the deck wouldn't be me if there wasn't an Evolving Wilds. Path of Ancestry. I don't know that it's ever going to matter, but it is a 5-color land, right? The Rogrin Triome, Savai Triome, Zagath Triome. Try to use as many of those, you'll notice, in Zagoth, Ketria, Jetmir's Garden and Spar's Headquarters. Tried to use as many of them that were forest in there as possible so that you can go grab them with the things that grab forest. Then we have a few fetches, Scalding Tarn, Marsh Flats, Verdant Catacombs, and Misty Rainforest. And that is deck number 1000. I do appreciate it, y'all watching. Thank you all for your support and the clicks and views and shares and everything for the past almost 8 years. It means a lot to me. I am nowhere. Funny story. People ask me how the quest is going, and I say, well, when I started 8 years ago, there was around 600-ish possible commanders. And I had like 80 decks built casually, like you do. And today, I'm sitting here showing you deck number 1000, and I am just as far from the finish line today as I was 8 years ago when I started. But that's okay. Because you know what? It gives me content, it gives me decks to build, and I love to deck build. I think I may love to deck build more than I enjoy playing. I don't know. It's, like I said, it's part of the meta game, as it were. It is things about the game that are not actually the game itself. I love to deck build. I love to explore the random possibilities that exist in this game with almost 40,000 different game pieces, Anyway, thank y'all so much. It has been a long road to get here, and thank you all. Here's to the next 1,000. I always want to tell you a little bit about a good close friend of mine named Clay. He is the one. In the early days of the channel, I was doing some of those early videos. I've left them up just to show growth and show where I started off at. But I was trying things because I've always heard that you need to start your videos the same and end the videos the same for a sense of continuity, right? So I'll always welcome people back to the channel to start with. And I was looking for that closing line. And I was trying a whole bunch of things, just to throw it against the wall, see what sticks, right? And me and him were standing out in front of a game store that's no longer there now. And he said, Brian, I think you're onto something with that shuffle and cut. I think you're onto that. He said, because sometimes that's all you want to do is just shuffle and cut. You just, because as soon as you build a deck, the number one thing you want to do is play that deck, right? So that's how I started ending every video. I started it way back then, and I still keep true to this day. I only do it on deck videos. If I do like box opening videos or stuff like that, I don't do it. But when I present a deck for y'all, that's how I do it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank y'all. I cannot express that enough. But right now, it is time to shuffle and cut.